Mhm. Right. So, we tackle all the calendar and time cycle understandings and controversial topics such as eternity and the beginning of creation, the first 12-hour night and 12-hour light cycles, or the first 24-hour day and date of creation, the 24-hour 7-day weekly cycle beginning from evening, everything on the 7 annual yearly holy day convocations. There are only 12 scriptural months, never 13. We deal with the true summer, winter, rain, agricultural seasons, the true harvest, as well as the counting of the 7 Sabbaths or 49 years for the 50-year Jubilee cycle, as well as many other cycles, and importantly, the 28-year cycle, which you'll get a lot of information about today. So, hang in there. And if you have any questions or comments on this topic, feel free to put it in the chat. So as we're always going to remind everyone that the 7 pillars of wisdom are the foundation of Jah's almanac.
Proverbs 9 verse 1. Wisdom hath builded her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars.
Of course, 7 is the prominent number that goes through the Most High's almanac, his calendar system. All 7s. Lunar cycle don't fit in with no 7s at all. The book of Enoch doesn't fit in with the 7s, although they utilize 364 day years along with Jubilee. And we'll talk about Jubilee even more. I keep saying that we're going to keep moving towards it because there's some things that definitely want to kind of bring out and highlight. But 7 runs everything. So if you have a calendar that uses 13 months, it's erroneous. Lunar cycles or lunar Sabbaths, that's wrong. Or if the first month of your year has more than 28 days, like if it has 29 or 30 days, that's the erroneous calendar. The first month only has to have 28, and that's according to your scriptures. But we'll talk more about that, or you can check those things out, in the past lessons that we've done in our course. Again, the 7-day weekly cycle is the prominent cycle. We begin the count from day 1, right? Doesn't start from day 4 of creation, it starts from day 1. But many people with their calendar, they begin it from day 1. And we know that the calendar began at creation on day 1 because they begin at day 4, but we begin at day 1 because the 7-day Sabbath is 7 days from day 1. It's not 7 days from the 4th day of the week. It's based upon the number 7. So we utilize and make sure everyone understands that if you have a calendar that doesn't begin on the first day of the week, that again is another sign that your almanac is off. The year always has to begin on the first day of the week, just like creation. And that first day was the beginning of all cycles and seasons and everything that follows. That's why it's very important. The sun, moon, and stars are there for signs of the seasons, days, and years, but they have nothing to do with the months, the holy Sabbath, or the festivals at all. So again, this is part 5A, Christmas and the Equinox Calendar Deceptions. Now, by now, I know many people know already that, the Christmas season is pagan and it's heathen. It's nothing to do with the Most High's, scriptures or truth at all. The children of Israel wouldn't be keeping them. We shouldn't be keeping them. And if you consider yourself a Messiah, a follower of the Messiah, you should not be keeping up with these things. No matter which way they try to make you keep on it. Don't observe it. Don't go to people's, house for a special dinner or anything of that nature. And I know many people know about these things, but when we get into this depths of this understanding, you're going to see that it's a great calendar deception that's going on as well.
That's right.
Go ahead, brother.
Any calendars that use the equinoxes and solstices as the beginning of seasons are in error. Any calendar that uses the solar system time frames as a foundation for time reckoning are also in error. Any calendars that use either the lunar months, Sabbaths, and feasts are in error. Here's a list of just some of the erroneous astronomical calendars. The modern Gregorian and Julian calendars, which have 365 and 366 days. The professed Hebrew lunisolar calendar, which has 19-year lunar cycles. The professed Enoch or Enochian calendars, which has 30, 30, and 31-day months. The Mazzaroth Zodiac lunisolar calendars. The modern Abib Barley lunisolar calendar. The New Moon lunar Sabbath Barley harvest calendar. the ancient Egyptian and Babylonian lunisolar calendars, and the ancient pagan Greek and Roman lunar calendars. And of course, the Ethiopian or Greek Orthodox, which has 360 plus 5 or 6 day months calendars.
Yeah, so I brought up all these calendars just to make sure if anybody out there is following them, we recognize what these calendars are and how they operate and how they're completely contrary to the true scriptural calendar and the Holy Bible. Although you can pick and choose and people can grab some things from the scriptures, but overall, those calendars being compatible are definitely off. And for one of the main big reasons that we're going to talk about today is that people use the spring equinox as the beginning of spring. They use the summer solstice as the beginning of summer. They use the autumn equinox as the beginning of autumn, and they falsely use the winter solstice as the beginning of winter. I mean, if anybody who lives in North America, understands this, and I'm pretty sure even other parts of the world, man, it's been snowy and cold since the beginning of November. You understand?
Yep, that's
And it's
right.
been around for a long time. And as we're on today's date, today's date is December 13th, still 10 days away from their official beginning of winter. And you can see for the last, 6 to 7 weeks, we've already been in winter and experiencing the cold, because the winter solstice is truly the middle of winter. It's not the beginning of winter. And you're going to get a big understanding of that today.
That's right.
So again, these are all false beginnings. We don't even deal with no globe or anything of that nature, a round ball spinning through space. All of that is a bunch of folly and is not true according to the scriptures. There's lots of misinformation on this topic, a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of fictions and fibs, and greatly when it comes to distortions and untruths, there is a lot. Now, one thing I want you to recognize is that there's 2 calendars in the world, right, that are running things right now. The Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar. Now, the Julian calendar came before the Gregorian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar kind of came from it and is a modified form of the Julian calendar. So we look at some information. The Julian calendar was introduced in 45 BC by Julius Caesar. The year was 365.25 days long, and is still used for official purposes in some countries. It was used up until the 20th century as official. It's still on the scene right now, but it's not an official thing throughout the world. The Gregorian calendar has taken over. And the Gregorian calendar, actually, they're both corrupt, but the Gregorian calendar kind of went a little bit too far. But nonetheless, this was introduced in 1582, which was almost about 30 years before the King James Bible, and even the Geneva Bible that came out in 1560. When you look at that calendar, or that if you have a copy of it and you look into the calendar dates and they have their calendar and everything, that's actually the Julian calendar in there. So it's kind of unique because when the Geneva Bible came out, it was still the Julian calendar. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of people think, hey, because of these calendar shifts and everything, that it's just we will never know what time it is, so to speak. But the Most High knows all things. So it's introduced by Pope Gregory, and that's why it's called the Gregorian calendar, and that's why it's a Roman Catholic calendar and is instituted by the Pope, right? And we know the Julius Caesar, and they're Romans as well. So you can see that you are under, really, when you look at things, you're still under Roman rule. I know Rome has, what do they say about Rome? It collapsed or whatever, it fell. And yeah, it might have fell for a certain understanding that way, but it's going to be revived in the future. And the devil and his evil angels are going to be a part of helping to revive, the Roman Empire in the future. And I can tell you something that, even today with Catholicism and all of that, it's still, things are still involved, but the time is not yet, but it's definitely coming. So it's just good to know that, these calendars out here that you're following are Roman calendars, from the Gentiles, because we're in the time of the Gentiles.
That's right.
So when it comes to the Julian calendar, and as opposed to the Gregorian calendar, over the years, there's, they tend to go from 10 days apart to 13 days apart. So now, excuse me, in this time, we're 13 days difference from the Gregorian calendar. So what does that mean? So let's say, for example, today is December 13th. Well, the Julian calendar is 13 days behind it, so it's possibly right now it would be December 1st for the Julian calendar, right? So that's again good information for you to know. And if you follow kind of like, I don't mean follow Christmas, but if you know you're in the workplace and there's people who keep Christmas in December, but then you'll find out there's some Greek Orthodox or Ethiopian Orthodox where they kind of keep Christmas in what we call as January, but that's
Hmm.
because that's really like their December. So there's a bit of a difference, and this change goes for 13 days, and then it just stays that way. So these are the differences over the centuries from the introduction. Now, what a lot of people think is that because when the Gregorian calendar came in, is that the weekly cycle is messed up, and we don't know what calendar to keep or what day of the week it is or anything of that nature because the calendar shifts have been changing all the time. But here's something good for you to know. Take note that what does it say? The Julian calendar came in 45 BC, and
Hmm.
Gregorian came in at 1582 AD. So almost 2,000 years later. So for 2,000 years, the Julian calendar was running things. The Julian calendar has been running things more than the Gregorian calendar when you look at it, right? Gregorian calendar's only been on the scene for maybe about 500-600 years. So again, taking these things into consideration, I want to make you think about calendars because it's something that, again, a lot of distortions. So just getting a basic idea again, Julian calendar is 365-day calendar with the 0.25, an average year of 0.25. There's one leap year every 4 years. You know about leap years. There are 366 days because when you do 25 times 4 or 0.25 times 4 or a quarter times 4, it's like 4 quarters make $1. So these four 2.25 days add up to one day. Even though this is what they're calculating, you can't really have a quarter of a day, but it gives you one leap year every 4 years. Remember that. The Gregorian calendar, again, it's the calendar currently used as the boss of this world. And you notice that they have 365.2425. So it's a little bit shorter, they would say, by all these minutes and using astronomy and scientific research and the solar system and all of that garbage. It is all it did is distorted because the 0.25 is perfect and the Gregorian calendar is actually less accurate, but they think it's more accurate because it's like when they tell you, oh, spring starts at 482 or 432, today, and they're trying to be so particular with 32, the exact moment and all this and that. That's just a bunch of tricks. A day is a day. You can't have a quarter day or anything like that, and half days. If you follow a lunar calendar, the lunar cycle is, I think it's 29 and a half days long, they would say. But they would have a 29-day and a 30-day month because you can't really have a half day. So the point here is that, when you look at these two structures, they're very similar. And a year that is exactly divisible by 4 is a leap year. However, years that are divisible by 4 and 100 is a leap year only if it's exactly divisible by 400. Now, that's just a lot of information there. I can kind of tune you in on what it is, but we'll get to it slowly, but don't let that confuse you. They're both basically the same, except what they're trying to say is that this little 0.24, that little 0.1 or whatever, over 400 years, it's going to amount to a day. So they push in a day or take away a day. It's so silly, to try to add up minutes. But this is what they do to try to seem smart, and people love what they call science. But again, it's usually against just things. So when the Messiah was on the earth, Jah's almanac was present, and so was the Julian calendar. This is something I really want you to know. You see, the Julian calendar was in 45 BC. So when the Messiah was on the earth, remember he's on the earth from 1 AD on forward, that means he came on. The Julian calendar was already 45 years into play by his birth. And by the time he was, he started his ministry, it would have been almost 70 years, 75 years, close to 70 years, I would say, where the Julian calendar was in play. So what is that letting you know? When somebody comes and try to tell you, oh, we don't know which day of the week it is because calendars and shifted and stuff like that, you can tell them no way, because back in the Messiah's time, the true calendar was there as well. We know that because him and his apostles were keeping the true festivals, the festivals that you would call the Jews, Jehuda, right? The true Jews. And they would be keeping, they kept Tabernacles, Passover and all of that, the Feast of First Fruits. So we know these things, that Jah's almanac was there. And we know that the The Julian calendar was there on the scene as well. So in saying that, when the Israelites counted days of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sabbath, even at that time, they had the Julian calendar where it was already named, and day one would be still Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The only thing is that these guys begin days and at the wrong time and at different times of the year of the 24-hour cycle. So they'll begin a day at from midnight till midnight, or some people begin it from sunrise to sunrise. But we know that the scriptures it's from evening till evening, or you would call sunset to sunset. That's the true scriptural understanding of a 24-hour day, despite all the arguments and all the videos that are out there and people saying this and that. That's not true. And we've proven that. And that's just a scriptural fact. And again, people can debate about these things, but most people would understand this understanding here. So what am I getting at now when I'm looking at these things here and I'm talking about? Well, the Julian calendar was in existence when the Messiah was on the scene. And when we take a look here, at this thing, we see that the weekly cycle was uninterrupted during the change from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. So when we look up top here, we can see that, the Julian calendar was changed in 1582, and Gregorian calendar came in that same year. So, it comes in, and I'll say this too. Usually when a calendar is introduced or comes in, it's like the year or two after that, there's a little bit of confusion and mixing up and making sure that they got the days right. And I've seen this and going through, different changes. But the thing is they want to line it up perfectly with the seasons. And, they know what the true seasons are. And yes, people say the equinoxes and solstices, but, we'll get to that soon. So what I'm saying is that if you notice, it was the Julian calendar, it was October, and they instituted it on a Friday. And so on the Julian calendar, it was October, Monday, October 1st was a Monday, Tuesday, October 2nd, Wednesday, October 3rd, Thursday, October 4th. And then what happened, 10 days got taken away, 10 calendar dates, not days, but instead of Friday being the 5th, it became the 15th and 16th on the Gregorian calendar. So the Julian calendar phases out. October now, after the 4th, it became the 15th. But one thing you can see is that the weekly cycle was not interrupted, right? It was still Thursday. When they did the change, it was Friday. The same thing down here is showing you the same thing. October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, right? It would go 5, 6, 7. But when the Gregorian calendar came in, October 4th, after that followed that was October 15th, 6, 7. Again, what I'm pointing out here is that the weekly cycle wasn't interrupted, family. I mean, you can't interrupt it. If that Julian calendar was on the scene at the time of the Messiah, that means many nations were on the scene, and the seventh-day Sabbath, or the seventh day of the weekly cycle, was greatly established when the Messiah was on the scene. From all nations, the Romans, the Israelites, everybody in different languages, whether they call it Saboda, Sabatu, Sabado, Shabta, Sabhu, all of those, it was fully intact. So when the people try to tell you, we don't know what day of week it is and this and that, they don't know what they're talking about. And when they switched the calendar, the weekly cycle was still in play. And why do I have such great trust in it, even though they say these things and people say we don't matter? Well, the Most High gave us a command that said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And even though the devil will try to do things to change it up, the Most High is going to make sure that day is not going to be distorted. He's going to make sure that if he's putting it as a command for his people to keep, then it's not going to get distorted. People have tried to, the Roman Catholicism, they changed the Sabbath to Sunday and, with all these calendar changes, but the Most High is still counting that 7-day Sabbath right from the beginning of creation, right till now. I mean, if we wanted to, we could probably look into Jah Almanac and say this is probably the 540th Sabbath of the year kind of thing. That's how detailed we can get, from the beginning of creation. So I just want to establish that, just so you know, because people will try to mix you up, but it's not so, as you can see here. And many people know this already. So your normal Gregorian calendar, right? They begin on January, even though, for them, the Roman calendar began on March, and they begin their spring on March 21st or the 22nd. And that's the beginning of their Roman year. But due to trickery, they have January. And then when people find out about the Israelite calendar, they're like, oh, it's March and this and that. We've been tricked. But it's a double trick. Nonetheless, we have the Julian calendar Again, there's 31 and 30-day months. Going down, we count the months. There was 12 months of their year. There was 365 days. So what I'm saying is that nothing has been changed. They're 365 and a quarter day still going on. You understand? So I just want to
Mm.
make sure you're up to date and this and that. So if you want to go online now, you can maybe Google and type in what date is it today for the Julian calendar. And it should be around the first or the second today. And unless they're going ahead of time, then you would say it'd be the 26th. But I think the Julian calendar is behind. And you could check for
Yeah.
yourself again, just to make sure these things are accurate. All right, let's continue. So what I'm showing you here is that when you look at this is Jah's 28-year cycle. We're going to talk about it today as much as we can, but this is from the year 1569 AD to the year 1596 AD, or 5769. This is Jah's numbers up here. But what you'll see here is that 5782 is also 1582 AD. And that is the year, as we just spoke about, when the Gregorian calendar came out on the scene and shifted from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And if you know what we keep talking about Jah's things, they love to begin things and change things in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Always doing things in the middle. And you can see they did it on calendar 14, which is the middle of 28. The clock on your wall, they begin their 24 hours in the middle of the night, right? The wrong areas. They begin their seasons in the middle of Jah's true seasons. They even begin chronology and counting time from the middle of Jah's 7,000-year cycle and count backwards with BC and forward with AD. So this middle understanding is something that we've detected greatly. And the other way to do it is just flip it right around, make the heads tails and the tails head. But in this case, when you do it in the middle, it makes it not so visible to those who are not studying. It's almost like, just shifting something really slightly in the middle, and those who are familiar with it wouldn't really notice the change at all. And especially after certain generations die out, people wouldn't even know these things. But I just want to let you know, knowing Jah's 28-year cycle and how it's a repeating 28-year cycle, we can keep our dates, seasons, and everything aligned perfectly. And this is what the Gregorian and Julian calendars do. They utilize a 28-year cycle. So let's get into it. So what happens every 28 years? Now, this is called the solar cycle. When you're dealing with Jah's things, you can call it the Julian cycle or the Gregorian cycle. It's a 28-year cycle. You know what, Brother Javid? That's your read. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. The solar cycle is a 28-year cycle of the Julian calendar and 400-year cycle of the Gregorian calendar with respect to the week. It occurs because leap years occur every 4 years, and there are 7 possible days to start a leap year, making a 28-year sequence.
Okay. So what this is letting you know, you need to know this. I think this is one of the most important calendar informations, even for people who don't want to deal with Jah's almanac. You have to know that there's only 28 calendars that you would need in succession, because they repeat every 28 years, no matter what, from the beginning of time. And we're talking about the Gregorian 28-year cycle, but they're copying. Jah has his 28-year cycle that starts from the beginning of time. But the Gregorian and the Julian 28-year cycle is a cycle of 28 years where it always repeats, because there's 7 days in a week, right? They know that there's 4 leap years, right? So a leap year every 4 years, and you have 7 days in a week. So 4 times 7 gives you 28. And this allows you to get an understanding of the 28-year cycle. And so when you kind of get an idea, and I'm going to show you a video in a second, a 2022 calendar will repeat in 2033, although this is not 28 years later, but it's letting you know 2033 would be the same calendar, 2039 and 2050. And 2050, I think, is 28 years. That would be the exact calendar. But they make a little bit of a mistake here. The only mistake that they've made, they don't know. It is the same calendar, except these two calendars would more likely be leap years, right? Whereas 2050 would not be a leap year. But it's still the same formation, meaning January 1st will start on a Monday, and it'll still start. But when you have leap years, remember that one day messes it up. But outside, it's a repeating calendar. And as you can see on your screen, again, these calendars will repeat. 2024 won't repeat itself again until 52, right? And that's going to be, 28 years from here to there. So again, all these calendars will repeat. All you need is 28 calendars. So let's take a look at a little video here. And yeah, let's see what we got here. Let's look at the perpetual calendar. Let's get a perpetual calendar and understanding.
Perpetual calendar is a device that we can use to get the day, the month, and the date for any year that we want. So a perpetual calendar. I want to know what day is December 30th, 2097. A perpetual calendar would be a device that could show me, what day of the week that's going to be, or what is the third Tuesday of 2019. A perpetual calendar would show me those things. When we get into watches, it's kind of the same thing. But in watches, perpetual calendar is a watch that keeps track of the date correctly year on year, month on month, and including leap years. So most, some months have 31 days, some months have 30 days, and then we got February, which can be 28 or 29 days. So a perpetual calendar watch will keep track of that date for you. So when February 28th rolls around, the next date it shows would be March 1. Your most common perpetual calendars, and they're not even advertised as such usually, would be your inexpensive digital Casios, your Timexes, G-Shocks. All those watches are perpetual calendars. And digitally, it's extremely easy. It's all programmed into a chip, and then the watch can, portray whatever day and date is necessary, whatever is correct for the time. When you get into...
Okay. So, when I take a little bit of a look at this understanding, again, it's very good for us to see. You have your digital watch, and it's always up to date, right? You don't have to set it ever again because there's a program in there, understanding. And I have a perpetual watch as well. That's not a digital watch. It's because when I was, years back, I really was into this perpetual understanding, and I always wanted to get one, and I saved up a little bit of money to get one. But again, it's perpetual as well, and you just leave it, and then the dates will always shift. If you don't have a perpetual watch and you have a thing with the date on it, you're going to have to actually manually shift the dates every 4 years because it's just not designed to be kept up to par. So when we're talking about this perpetual, remember I said there's a 28-year cycle. So it's good to know that the Gregorian perpetual 28-year cycle, it keeps everything in line in all the seasons. Because if you only need 28 calendars, that means all of your equinoxes and solstices and all of that are going to be perfectly in line. They're not going to be out of whack, and the equinox will be showing up sometime at the wrong time of the year. So we have 28 years, and you can see that every fourth year is a leap year. So 365, and we have 366. And remember, this is a 0.25 day here, 365.25. When you count out 1.25, 1.25, 1. You'll get here this extra day on top of 365. When you look at it and you start to add up all of this information and time, you start to see that, of course, this year is just this without the, it's 28-year cycle. Here's the first year, and here's the 28th year. And as you go across, you can see 365, 365, 366. It's a leap year. So what you do for this Gregorian 28-year cycle, you can just add up everything. 365 plus 365 plus 365 plus 366. 365 plus 365 plus 3, right? Or you could look at it in terms of multiplying. Since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you have 7 leap years. You can do 7 times 366, and that would give you, there's 21. Because if there's 7 from minus 28, there's 21 common years, 365-day years. Then you do 21 times 365, and that'll give you, and you add them together. And I'll, kind of give you an understanding in a second and show you the math work. But you might have been hearing a lot about these, things with these movies out there called 28 Days or 20, as this one is, 28 years later. And you'll notice that they have your 10,228 days. But when we look back here, we're talking about this perfect 10,227 days. Well, the reason why it's 10,228 is because that 28, that one extra day, is the beginning of the next 28-year cycle. So there's 10,227 days, and then if you were to, as you get into the next year of the cycle, that would be the 10,228th day. Now these guys know what's going on. I want to really let you know that when I say these guys, the world and everything, you know, in this movie, I didn't see the movie. There was just a trailer. So I went to the trailer just to see what's going on, because when I saw 28 years, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. You know, how they know these things. You know, somebody was watching Teletubbies, and it was kind of unique that Teletubbies started March 31st, 1997. And this movie came out in the year 2025, earlier on in this year. And, you know, from 1997 to 2025 is 28 years for Teletubby. And that's when this movie came out. So what I'm saying is that
Wow.
you got to really don't take for granted this information about calendars. And I know it's something that might be confusing, you don't want to get into, but when you do get into it and Jah kind of flicks on that light and you start to understand things, it becomes really beautiful. You start to see things, you know, that is like in numbers and understandings and calendars that a lot of people kind of don't observe, or, you know, it just goes over their head. It doesn't mean people are foolish and dumb, or even, I wouldn't even say blinded. It's like you have to really be into these things in order to see it, right? And again, if you're not really approaching it with a righteous mind frame, then of course you can be blinded by Jah. So remember, we're talking about, let's do the math, the Gregorian 20-year cycle, calendrical cycle, the year type. We have a common year of 365 days. So that would be 52 weeks plus 1 day. And how many times does that occur within the 28-year cycle? When we went back, we count up all the green, that's 21 times. Right? So we multiply 21 times 365. We're not doing that quarter day thing. It comes to this number. We do the leap year because this is where your quarter year is. And remember, a leap year every 4 years, it happens 7 times. Let's take a look again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leap years within the 28-year cycle. So now 7 times 366 gives you 22,562. You add these two numbers together and you get a total of 10,227 days. And of course, 21 plus 7 is 28 years. Now, this is important information for you to know. If I were you, like, remembered it, screenshot it, check it out yourself, everything about the 20 years. It's very important, because once you know this, you're going to know how the true seasons work and how they can know and keep everything in line, and how the Gregorian calendar does it. Because the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar are calendars that are mimicry and counterfeits of the Most High's calendar. They're actually numerically very close to Jah's things. They just shift numbers around, as you're going to see. And even though people will say, oh, the Gregorian calendar is pagan, of which it is, and it's false, of which it is, but let me tell you something, it's more correct and near to the truth than any lunar calendar would ever be. You understand? And I mean that by the mathematical workout, because you have to work out this perfect days. It's perfect. I mean, what I'm trying to say is you can't get around this. You can't say, well, maybe that's your opinion. No, this is a fact of the world. And for the last 3,000 years, since the Julian calendar came out, they've helped the rest of the world keep up with, you know, this 28-year cycle. But those who were with Israel and knew Jah's truths, they already knew about the true 28-year cycle that this Gregorian calendar is copying. So I just want to let you know that very important information. Brother Jah, do you want to add anything?
That's very, very true. And if anything, just remember and mark these numbers down. Remember, we said at the beginning that 7 is the number of wisdom and perfection. And you see the cycle of sevens at work within this 28-year cycle.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. What I want you to do, if you can, family, if you can, this is a marvelous thing. You know, Brother Javid brought it to my attention before, and although we kind of seen these things, Brother Javid said, hey, oh, there's a big highlight here. And so, as you can see on your screen, I would love for you to get 10,227 and get a calculator and just divide that 10,027 by the perfect number 28, which is 4 times 7. And guess what? This is what it gives you. This is what it gives you. And what is that saying? That these guys are lying about the solar system, and that they're watching the sun do all of this movement and go around the earth going around the sun and all of that garbage, and saying that's what makes a 365.25 year, or for the Gregorian 0.2425. It's foolishness. It's mathematics. Again, please do it, because when you do this, it's inescapable to see what's going on. You're being shown how these guys work calendars. And I want you to really, really, if I have to take time with this lesson, I have no problem. You got to understand this if you're into the calendar and you want to know time frames and you want to know when to keep the Most High festivals, because this information is going to let you know that the equinox beginning year, the solstice beginning winter, and all of that stuff is not true. That they're lying and you've been deceived. And so many people next week in the Israelite or even amongst the Jewish people, they're going to be keeping, the Feast of Dedication and celebrating their 9th or 10th or 11th month, 10th month, maybe getting into their 10th moon, never mind month, moon. And they're going to keep this Feast of Dedication, aka Hanukkah, and make it run through the winter solstice as it does every year, because all they're doing is lining up with the pagan time frames. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, man. And this goes to show us that the same way Jah allotted the 7-day weekly cycle, and you can't get around it, Jah's allotted or ordained this 28-year cycle and the 10,227 days within this cycle. Jah's ordained, and the heathen can't. There's nothing they can do to change this number. They have to work within this number, just like they have to work within the 7-day weekly cycle. All they do is they'll lie to us and shift and tell us when the cycle begins or ends, but they can't change the exact number of days, because this is what the number that Jah's ordained, and they have to work within these numbers.
That's right. Well said. And here's the point too. Like what Brother Javid said, if the Romans and other groups try to come with the 8-day, 9-day, and 10-day weeks, it's impossible. You can't do that. You can't even add 1 day. You can't say 10,228 days is in the cycle, because that 1 day is going to eventually throw everything completely off.
That's right.
So everything is ordained by Jah in heaven before time began. And again, I want you to see this. See that quarter day there, that 0.25? They added up together so that they can give you this day here, 366. You understand? It's a trick. And when you do this, notice that, all right, 366 is 1 day extra. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 extra days of the three, in terms of in the count. And we're going to talk about that. Let's watch another video. Here's a simple one.
How many days is 28 years old? 10,227 days. Calculating the total number of days in 28 years requires accounting for leap years. Typically, 28 years includes 7 leap years, each with 366 days, and 21 regular years with 365 days each. The calculation is 7,366 plus 21,365 equals 2,562 plus 7,665 equals 10,227 days.
Okay. I hope you, just confirmed what I'm talking about, because you're not making it up. But this is how you live in. It doesn't matter where you go. Here's another idea about the Gregorian 28-year cycle.
Introducing a different way of looking at our current Gregorian calendar. Did you know that it repeats itself every 28 years? This is a graphic representation, a snapshot of our calendar's 28-year repeating cycle in a concentric design that allows any year to be effectively dialed up and displayed. The numbers in the outside ring, 1 through 28, represent the 28 years as it repeats itself every 28 years. Years in the complete repeating cycle are designated 1 through 28 in the outside ring. Year number 29 is simply year number 1 all over again. 1961, 1989, 2017, and 2045 are all year number 1s. They're all just 28 years apart.
All right. So what you see on your screen is that same chart that he had. I just added a little bit more information to it. And I want you to take this in. This is the year up top. We go down. You can see that it's counting in 28-year cycles. We can see that every 4th year is a leap year, right? 4, 8, 12. These are all multiples of, and you can see there's 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? When we go to the day of the week, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You can see there's some. This is when they're saying the year begins. So like Sunday, January 1st. January 1st would be a Sunday this year, 1905. It'll be a Monday the next year, as you know. Just like how if you're looking at your birthday and you're born January 8th, Monday, of course, the next year, January 8th, falls on a Tuesday. And if it was a leap year that next year, it would skip a day and fall on a Wednesday. So this is why, when you're looking at dates and days, when people are celebrating their birthdays, think they're celebrating their birthday, right? It's really their birth date that they're celebrating, because their birthdays, if you were born on a Wednesday, and whatever date that is, it's supposed to be that same day and date next year. It shouldn't be moving to the next, the Wednesday, that same Wednesday now becomes the 9th. And so again, showing you a perfection of, that's why having 52 exact weeks allows no skippages of days, because 7 days in a week, 7 times 52 gives you a perfection. So when we see this is going on here, notice up top it has plus 28. So 1933 plus 28 days is 1961. So this same calendar that you use for 1905, 1933, 1961, 1989, 2017, they're all going to be that same calendar number 1. Now let's go to where we are in our time frame. So it's a little bit before the calendar we're using now for coming up for 2026. I'm sorry, I'm just using 2026 coming up next year. You can see right there. Well, the same calendar could be used in 1914 in the past, 1942, 1970, 1998. There's 2026. Then 28 years later, it's 2054. 28 years after that, it's 2082. Now you can do all of this for all of the calendars. So I need you to really understand this is a 28-year cycle thing. I don't want nobody to not know this, honestly, because if you know this, it's going to help you move forward in understanding even other calendars. If you don't want to deal with our almanac, that's fine, but it's going to give you understanding, because you're going to know that we're not making up stuff. Because where did these guys get that 10,227 days from? Jah made his creation. They never made it. So you can already just say they know Jah's things. You understand?
That's right.
I'm going to look at the comment section. Shabbat Shalom to all are kind of joining us today. Zora says, after hearing that, it makes so much more sense. Yes, give thanks. So, this is a perfect understanding of 28-year cycles. So what are we now in 2025, right up here? So the next time we could use this calendar would be 2053. So this is really nice to let you see the Gregorian adjustments. All right, now that we know that, let's get into just things, right? Because I've let you know how the Gregorian and Julian calendars work, and both of them work on the same premise of 10,227 days. And that's going to become more that 10,227 days. When you probably first hear it, you're like, oh, what is that number again? But after a while, hey, Brother Javed, it's like you just remember it. It just
it just becomes the card into your memory.
That's right. Andrea's saying, very good, Z. Yes, at Z. That's right. A little young children, these are good for when young children can pick up these things, we should humble ourselves like them too. And and one of the people commenting right here is young. You understand? Under 10. Catching things. This is how it works. Jah will talk to, and this is why we humble ourselves. You'll talk to those who are humbling, right? Ready to learn. Right? Not with the first fight thing. And yes, be skeptical, but you hear first, you digest it first, and then you look to see, is that good? Right? You chew over things and see what's going on. So let's move on. So we talk about the 7,000-year cycle, right? Right here. And the 7,000-year cycle, the concept of it is really from scripture, with Peter says, isn't a day like 1,000 years, as 1,000 years is like a day. Now, some people just think it's just saying, hey, time is long. As a day passes by, to you, it's, a day in Jah's eyes is 1,000 years. And those are true. The understanding and the effect of time on Jah is completely different from humans, right? But the point being is that there's 7 days in the weekly cycle, right? So day 1 to day 7. when we look at the scriptures also, we see that the Passover also occurs on the first day of the week to the seventh day of the week, day 1 to day 7. We see that the Feast of Tabernacles also is from day 1 to day 7, and the Feast of Dedication is also day 1 to day 7. Now, I'm just putting out these weekly cycles because when you start to see the 7,000-year cycle, it's like you understand that, okay, day 1 is 1,000 years. Day 2 is 2,000 years. It's based off the weekly cycle. So when we say there's 7,000 years in creation, that's right. The Most High gave 7,000 years for him to do his plan of salvation and work everything else. And then as that 7,000-year cycle is near the ending and stuff like that, we're going to be going into another 7,000-year cycle, but that's known as the 8th day. Because after 7,000 is 8,000. But if you learn about the 8th day, it's just the beginning of another week. Yes, we're going to keep moving. Unless you want to add anything, Java, just let me know, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the first 7 days of creation. The first 24-hour literal days is just like a blueprint for the creation of time. Jah's allotted 7,000 years for this creation to dwell in, and then Jah will start a new cycle.
That's right. So Jah counts chronology or time from year 1 through the year 7,000. So when we count the beginning of time, we're going to say, hey, that first year that Adam was made, that's year 1. After that is year 2. And this is so when you see our information and you're like, hey, we say it's the year 6,225 from creation, this chart should kind of help you as well. Because you're saying, oh, so they're saying it's been 6,225 years since year 1. Now, of course, you're going to ask, well, how do they know that, right? And this is what you have to do when you deal with chronology, and that's like another lesson on its own. You can count time in the Bible, knowing when people, have died, how long a kingdom is, and you can get a good understanding. And many people have got a good understanding of time. They might not be exactly where we are in the area where year 1 equals 4199 BC, but they'll be very close in the BC area. But when you have knowing what year 1 is and the 7,000-year cycle, it just makes everything so perfect because you're just learning how to number your days. Because this world wants you to look backwards and count BC from here. You're counting BC going backwards, and then from here you're counting forward, and it's so confusing, right?
Yeah, it is confusing. It's like they want you to start in the middle and then look backwards and look forwards. Why don't you just start right from the beginning and look forward onward? But they don't want to do that. They want to confuse us.
That's right. So you see how we have year 0 like a number line? It's like holding that place, the division of the positives to the negatives. And it's important to understand that. You see that once you're getting in the black area here, when we go back, this is 1 BC. So 4199 this year here is equivalent to 1 BC. Then you have 0, year 0, which is equivalent to 4200 BC. Notice there's 2 zeros at the end of 4200. And then 4201 is equivalent to 1 AD. You see that 4201 and the 1 AD when the Messiah was born? That's AD now. We start counting from him because when he was born, that's where they get their AD and BC from. Now, one thing you're going to go look at, you're not going to find probably anybody really says that the Messiah was born in 1 AD. And the word AD or the letters AD mean Anno Domini, which means the year of the Lord or the year when the Messiah was born. And a lot of people have been born 4 BC, 7 AD, 3 AD. I mean, how could you, be the year of the Lord and you're born before the year of the Lord? You can't be born in a BC area. And some people have the Messiah born at 4 BC. I'm like, how can that work? Then, he's the marker for the time. So when we do our time, and I learned from David Ray, our elder, is that when Messiah came on the scene, they can call it whatever we want. We know it's AD 1. It's the first year the Messiah was on the earth. Simple.
That's right.
And we're going to count it that way. And so some dates in history might be off a year or two here, there, but our chronology is actually straight corrected chronology. You should know if the world's going to lie about calendars and everything else, they're definitely going to lie about chronology and historical dates as well. And to say that the Messiah was born BC or even 6 AD, I mean, if 1 AD is the year of the Lord and they say the Messiah was born in 6 AD, then why isn't 6 AD considered? How could you be the year of the Lord? And it just doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, it's confusion.
Right. So when you see this chart, now you know and understand. So when we give dates like the year 6225 is equivalent to 2025 AD, like you see here, it gives you a good understanding.
That's right. And this is a good way to look at the 7,000 year chronological timeline, because when we say we're in the year 6,225, right? And when we know that every day of the week represents 1,000 years, we can say that 6 days have already passed, and we are now into the 7th and last day of creation. And this is how we know that we're in the last days. And this timeline is almost up.
That's right. All right, brother, your read.
The understanding of the 28-year cycle. There is a 28-year cycle that keeps all the seasons aligned perpetually. This 28-year cycle was designed by Jah, and the present Gregorian and Julian calendars utilize this knowledge to institute a counterfeit of the perfect 28-year seasonal cycle, which has 10,227 days. Within this present 7,000-year creation cycle, there is a total of 2,556,750 days, counting from day 1 to day 7,000. The days in Jah's cycles cannot be added to or taken away from. They are the perfect number ordained for his months, seasons, feasts, and years. It doesn't matter which days, weeks, months, or seasons they use to formulate their calendars. They live within Jah's time cycles, governed by the perfect number 7, ordained from the beginning.
All right, before you read the mathematics, I want you to really take it in. You cannot do nothing. You cannot formulate a calendar. You can say, okay, January is the beginning of the year. Oh, okay, April at the new moon is the beginning. Doesn't matter. You're in Jah's cycles. You're within his time frames that came on the scene before any nation came on. Jah's Amlak was in use from the beginning of time. So it doesn't matter what people want to do. They're going to be wrong. If you don't start the same day that Jah starts his new year and the beginning of his seasons, then you're off. That's it. It's it. And this is why in these last times, Jah brought this great work to light through our elder and continually working through the rest of us in the Zion Assembly of John Jehoshua. We call our assembly the Assembly of the Father and Son. This ain't, this and that assembly that the Father and the Son are the only thing there. No Trinity or anything of that nature. The Messiah is not the Father, but he's of the Godhead or of Elohim. Simple. No Trinity. The Father is the Holy Spirit. And we believe that this understanding of the Godhead and Elohim, which is the true way to see it outside of Trinity and saying the Messiah is the Father, is a part of why we feel that we've been privileged to have his mercy and grace in order to see these things, because you have to believe in him in the correct, proper way. I mean, people believe in him, and when people have errors, they're still going to have knowledge. But for us, we feel like, especially in the calendar area, which is probably one of the more technical areas of all of this understanding of salvation and everything too, in terms of, technical with mathematics, it's worked out perfectly. You understand? And I want Brother Jab to read out these numbers here.
Yes, and pay attention to these numbers, because they all work out and are divisible by the perfect and the perfect and wisdom of number 7. Right? So look on your left, you'll see the cycles of years with 7. So you have your 7-year cycle. Within this 7-year cycle, you have 2,555 days. And then there's the mathematics, 200,055 divided by 7 equals 365. And then you have your 28-year cycle, which we know is 4 times 7. Within this 28-year cycle, we have a total number of days, which is 10,227 days, as we just covered. If you do the mathematics, you divide that by 28, you get 365.25. Now you have your 700-year cycle. In this 700-year cycle, you have a total number of days of 255,675 days. And the mathematics divided by 7 equals 36,525. And then your 7,000-year cycle, you have a total number of days of 2,556,750 days. And then there's the mathematics again.
Yep.
All these numbers are divisible by the Jah's perfect number 7.
That's right. And the reason why we can count days, and that's why in the beginning of this lesson I said this was the 2 millionth and this and that day, is because when you know all the cycles, and remember, we're counting days. So in 1 year, there's 364 days. And then when you do the count You have 6 years into the 7th year, you're adding up all those days. Just like how we add up all the days of the 28-year cycle. If you have 10,227 days in a 28-year cycle, then 10,227 times 28 is going to give you, it's going to give you to the 7,000 area. You understand? Because it's a perfect work of mathematics.
That's right.
So take a look at these numbers, and again, they all work by 7. They're all proven. We even just come up last year. This almanac has been on the scene amongst us and other people for more than 30 years. Our elder had it probably for 40 years. But again, Jah does everything on his own time, and I like it because at least now all those other people with their calendars and all the false calendars are all out there, so they can't say, oh well, and try to change it up, and we never knew, and this and that. They gone out there. Now Jah's almanac comes on the scene, and we can go, that calendar's wrong, and do it confidently. People might think it's bragging and boasting, but it's just when you know a thing, right?
That's right.
That's all we're going to do, and we give thanks and praise to the Most High for it. It wasn't sitting down just trying to, just work it out with your mind. The Holy Spirit is guiding us that we do things perfectly and in order.
That's right. And it goes to show you that we shouldn't take these numbers lightly. In Psalms 90, Jah told us to teach us to number our days so we may account to wisdom, right? And so we know that Jah counts and numbers everything. If he can number the exact number of hairs on your head, then what is days and times and years, right? So it's important to know these things and how Jah's calendar operates, because every day is numbered and accounted for.
That's right. So we see on this chart, this is a 7,000-year cycle, which has many different cycles of years operating within it, right? So we have a yearly cycle, right? We talked about that, the yearly cycle. And if you know, it's 1 year, but when you multiply it by 7,000, that's going to give you 7,000. So there's 7,000 1-year cycles within a 7,000-year cycle. Simple, right? But I want you to see where we're going. If there's 7,000 years, obviously it's a 1-year cycle times 7,000. So this is where you get that math from. When we continue, we got a 7-year sabbatical cycle. 7 times 1,000 equals 7,000. So there's 1,007-year cycles. Then we have the 28-year seasonal, you could even call it solar cycle. 28 times 250 is 7,000. So that means there's 250 28-year cycles in 7,000. You see how it works? That means all this math works out. Now, when it comes to the Jubilee year, and I know that the Jubilee year kind of extends over, and people might count it as 50 years, but it's a 49-year count when you really get into it. 143 times 149 gives you 7,007. Now, obviously, you can see that, hey, that's 7 years after the 7,000-year cycle. And then just like how a Jubilee is like a new beginning, and the beginning and a reset, I do believe this is where this kind of combination comes in, where it's going over, but it's going to be a part of that reset, because the Jubilee doesn't finish off perfectly at 7,000 like everything else does. And it's another cycle operating within Jah's cycle. So I just wanted to, normally we didn't chart it, but I thought I'd bring it out so you can see it, because the Jubilee years and understanding of counting of Jubilee years seems to become quite popular with the Book of Jubilees. And if you read the Book of Jubilees, you'll see a lot, in the 89th Jubilee, year 1, the 6th day or the 6th year of the 7th, this and that. So it's being counted in there. And we don't get none of our information from Jubilee. But once I started to see the book, I'm like, all right, these guys are counting. And they tend to use that same count that we're using here as well. But nonetheless, moving on, we have a 70-year prophetical cycle. 70 times 1,000 equals 7,000. Again, do you notice all the multiples of 7?
100.
Oh, 70 times 100. Sorry, 70 times 100. My bad. Gives you 7,000, right? Then you have century cycles, 100-year cycles. 100 times 70, which is the flip of here to here, gives you 7,000. Then you got 700-year cycles equals 700 times 10 of those gives you 7,000. Then you have 1,000-year creation cycles, because remember, 1 day, 1,000 years for each day of the weekly cycle. We have 7 days in the weekly cycle. 7 times 1,000 gives you 7,000. So this is how we get a little bit of the math, and boy, isn't it perfect. I mean, 7 is Jah's number, as you might know, and it's like, look at this. Look at this. I don't see nobody ever talking about these things because they would have to, be revealed these things. And I don't mean revealed by voices and a vision and from heaven. I mean, as the Spirit is guiding you in the studies and looking into his scriptures. Does the scripture mention anything about a 28-year cycle? No, it doesn't say it there, 28-year cycle. Does it mention 700-year? There's a mention of 70-year cycles. There's mention of 7-year cycles as well, sabbatical cycles. There's mention of Jubilee cycles. There's not a mention of 100-year cycles, but we know 100 years is a century. And 700-year cycles isn't mentioned, but again, it's in the scriptures in the understanding of the number sevens. And
That's
you'll see
right.
what we're talking about. So there's many things that we're going to say is like, well, where did they get it from? They just made it up. It's based upon the principles of seven. And we do know that, the principle of seven times 4, and these things can be worked out. So yes, some of these numbers you don't see in the Holy Scriptures, but doesn't mean that because you don't see it, all right, well, forget nobody knows, because nobody would have any calendar because it's not showing you in the Scriptures, the amount of certain type of years and years, back and forth. You'd have to go, and it has to be worked out with math. So as David said, where the Most High tells us to number our years.
That's right.
So this numbering of years, what you see on your screen is called what's it called again? It's called the 7,000 year chronological timetable. And this 7,000 year chronological timetable, it starts off here, as you might be able to see. I'm going to bring it back a little bit bigger. It starts off at year 1 of creation. And we understand that year 1 is equivalent to 4199 BC, or 4,199 years before the Messiah was born, right? That's what it means, BC. And as you can see, when you go to year 2, it's 4198, because in BC, the more you go ahead of time, weirdly, the numbers decrease. Yet, of course, when we count normally go ahead of time, the numbers are increasing. So let's say 182 years out from creation, that would be equivalent to 4018 BC. So what you see in the gray is Babylon's numbers, and in the white is Jah's chronology, and it matches up perfectly. And this goes from 1 to the year 7,000. Now, this part here is coming up into the area where we are. So let's say you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we finally get to 6,166. You keep coming down, keep coming down, keep coming down. And you got 6,000 at the bottom here, 6,200, which is equivalent to 200 AD. Then coming down from here, again, Jah's 62, 62, 62. And you hear us say we're at 6225, which lets you know that we're at 2025 AD. Next year is 6226, and it'll be 2026 AD. And then if we're going to go all the way through, we keep counting until we get to near the 7,000, and we get to year 7,000. That's equivalent to the year 2,800. Yeah, there's your 28 in there as well. Again, showing you the numbers of 7,000 and 2,800 AD. So now I'm just showing you a little bit of the chart because we have the charts that, we give in our books, and like I said before, I'm going to be offering them again, updated and everything. And, this what you see on the screen now is just one chart, but it has like 20 pages because, we wrote out all the numbers, put all the numbers from 1 to 7,000. But obviously, if I was to sit here and have them all out, we'd be going through everything. So I just wanted you to see the beginning, where we are, how it works out, and the end. Again, take a look, Brother Javed. If you have any comments, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing chart because who else is going to do this type of work, right? Number the date, number the years from the beginning of year 1, and then superimpose that on the Babylonian years or the Gregorian dates, right? So this chart helps us to understand what the equivalent year is of the Gregorian date in relation to Jah's number of years.
That's right. So as you can see, like, doesn't matter what number. If somebody just typed in right now any year within time and say, what year was 1942 when I was born or something like that, I can go to my, trustee. And I want to show you what I'm talking about with this chronological table. I'm going to big up myself for a second, David, okay?
Yeah.
So this is Jah's 7,000 year chronological table. And like I was speaking to you and showing you, you have going again up to year one. You see year one starting up here, right? Going all the way through. And this goes through, if we were to go through, we go through all these years, 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 until you get to near the last page. Right? And the last page, and it kind of finishes off here, right? And you can see I've been doing a little bit of work on it. So that's a 7,000 year chronological table. But then we also have the 7,000 year cycle, which is not the chronological, but it's the cycle of history, and we'll get to that. But I just wanted to show you and let you know, and these things again will be available, giving you some information. All right, let's continue, Brother Javed.
Jah's original 28-year cycle. Jah's calendar originally consists of a 28-year cycle with respect to the 7-day Sabbath week and 7-year Sabbath cycles. Sabbath or sabbatical years, which is 7-year weeks, occur every 7 years, and there are 4 Sabbath years, formulating a perfect perpetual 28-year cycle of 10,227 days. It perpetually repeats every 28 years within Jah's 7,000 years of origination. So 7 times 4 equals 28, and then you have 250 28-year cycles equals 7,000.
I know we said these things, but I wanted again you to see kind of in writing, get an understanding. So now we have here Jah's 7,000 year week. Now give me a second here. Let me do something. Okay, so this is Jah's 7,000 year weekly cycle. And Jah's 7,000 year weekly cycle, I need you to take a notice of something here. Again, year one is 4199 BC, which is right here. And this is old, and I'm going to show you the new updated version, but I want you to see the old version. Now, you notice that it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 here, 7 columns, right? And now we have how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that there's, this is 28. This is the first 28-year cycle. There's a line under it. So from 1 to 28 gives you 28 years. After this 28-year cycle, it starts again. So where it says 29, that would be like calendar 1, 2, 3. So this calendar at 29 is going to be the same calendar as calendar 1. This calendar at 39 is going to be the same calendar as 11. Because it's almost like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 14, 21, 28. So each line is 28 years. So if I wanted to know what calendar to use out of the 28 and I was on 47, I would just have to count. So 2 lines is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 47 would be calendar 19. And that's where we know the calendar for that year. And I'm just giving you that little information. So again, taking a note here. And let me just bring this up so you can kind of see where things have changed. So this is, before I go there, this is, again, just the same 7,000 year weekly cycle, but I just put the boxes so you can see it. 28 years, 28 years. Everywhere where the line is 28 years. Okay? And then even if we go near the end, again, last 28 years, and you can see the last 28-year cycle, the 20th year is going to land on 7,000 right here. So it says here, this is the end of the 1,000th 7-year cycle. This is the end of the 250 28-year cycle, the end of the 10th 700-year cycle, 700-year cycle, the end of the 140, I got to change that, Jubilee, the end of 70 100 years, and the first 7,000-year cycle ends here. So as you can see, again, this is giving you some information about, the 28-year cycle and how to use it when you get an understanding. Why? Because Jah's cycles are like 1, 7, 28. And then when you do the same thing, you're just going to start to see and learn that this is Jah's sabbatical year. Why is it sabbatical? Because it's the 7th year. Just like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And remember, with the Gregorian calendar, they do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they do 7 down. We'll get to that so you can compare it. But again, I just want you to see. So for that 10,227 days, what will we have to do? Add up all these 364, which is 24 of them, and then we'd have to add up the sabbatical years. This is a minor sabbatical year of 371, and this is a major sabbatical year. Now, again, these cannot be, give me a second here. I just lost my screen. So, yeah, these cannot, I forgot my mind frame, 10,227 years. Oh yeah, the minor sabbatical years, just like even the common years and the major sabbatical years, you can't see them in the Bible. But when you start to look at and understand this time frame of the 10,227 days, you start to see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of common years, 371 is one extra week. That's 7 days extra. So 7 plus 364 gives you 371. These three are minor sabbatical years. If you're to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have 364, but you have 378. Well, this is 2 weeks extra over 364, 1 week extra over 371. So 364 plus 2 weeks or 14 days gives you 378. This is not like you call it intercalation. People will use that term, but these are the amount of days ordained in Jah's cycle. You can't add to them, you can't take away from them, and they're set up perfectly in the system of sevens. Okay?
That's right.
Again, every 7th year. Now, let me share with you an updated version of just the top part here. And okay, so what I got in front of you is, I'm just going to kind of share my screen and show you. This is Jah's perfect 7,000 year almanac from year 1 to 7,000, or 4199 BC to 2,800. So what you're seeing is you're getting a sneak peek kind of what's in the new book. And as you can see here, it's a little bit different. We've got color-coded things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that a little bit for us to see. So this is, again, year 1, 4199 BC, the beginning of origination or creation. We have here the twins, Cain and Abel, born year 2, 4198 BC. They were born the year after they, messed up their thing. But notice here now, we're going to also count Jubilee years. So this here is year 1, the beginning of all things. So we're going to go across. We got one set of 7 years, another set of 7 years, another set of 7 years, and the fourth set of 7 years. That's giving us a 28-year cycle, as we can see, right? But then we keep counting from 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, kind of from 1 and 7 times 7 is 49. You can see the 49 there, right, Brother Javed?
Yeah.
Is it clear? After 7 Sabbaths, 49 years is the year of Jubilee. So this would be the first Jubilee from creation. But notice that this first Jubilee, it's also going to be year 1. So this is going to be like, again, just as we had up here, this is year 1. You have year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This would be like year 1 counting the Jubilee again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we count as we go down, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, seventh one. The year after is the second Jubilee. So the Jubilee year, as you can see, is always going to be like on the first yearly cycle, or the first day of the week, you can call it, right?
Yes.
And with Jah's Almanac, the new 7,000 year cycle that we have here, you're going to have all of your Jubilees counted out, the first, second. So when you eventually get Jah's 7,000 year cycle, it starts from 1 and it goes down counting through. Now we only go to the year 100 in the sense of counting. So you can see we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 blah. When we get to year 100, we start counting again. And the reason why we have to do that is because when you get into 101, 102, 103, the chart can't hold anything. So the chart's going to be in 100-year cycles, but you're always going to get it, it's going to if you use your wisdom, this is 100, year 100, and then this would be year 101, 102, 103, right? And I want to let you know that because when people get this almanac, it's going to be important to know how to count. So even though we
That's
have
right.
year 100 right here, sorry, Brother Java, give me 1 second. 100 right here, we can see the second Jubilee is year 99. You want to say something, brother?
Well, it's good that you have revised and updated the book, because now these numbers stick out a lot more, and it's going to make more sense, especially for the brethren and sister. And I like how you highlighted the Jubilee years, because that every 50th year is also year one, counting to the next Jubilee year. So the 50th year is also the same as year one, as you just said.
Mhm.
Putting on the chart, I can see why that makes sense.
Yes. So when you put this third Jubilee, as we count, again, when you're looking at this chart, remember, you don't just go down, you go back up to the top. So you read from this side to the left. So you'll notice again at the bottom here in the third Jubilee, it says 67, 68. Well, we go back up to the top, 69, 70. So I just want, again, you to see that when you do count time, you're going through here, then you go up here and you come down. And what's good about this revised almanac, as you can see, is that anytime I've color coded many things, pink or this purplish, always represents somebody being born. If it's in yellow, it's just giving you a scriptural date or a fact of the date, whatever it is. So like year 1 is in yellow, 4199 BC, right? You have here on the right side, let me just kind of make it bigger for people. On the right side, it says where the triangle is, year 200 or 4000 BC. So again, just giving you information. Now, I put in other colors as well, just kind of make things unique. I'm not going to get into this, but this ending here is ending 3 Jubilees and 7 28-year cycles synchronized every 196 years. Now, that sounds like a lot, and don't really want to get into it, but I want you to see this. All right. This is one, from here to here is 1 28-year cycle. You see what I'm saying right there?
Yeah.
1 28-year cycle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? That's 7. But notice also now we're going to count Jubilees. 1, 2, 3, and now the 49th year's on here. The 5th Jubilee starts right after. You see what I'm saying? So the 49th year ends on the 96th year, and this is a reset. So now when this starts again, where the Jubilee is, and let me make it cleaner now. The 4th Jubilee right here, that's just the beginning of a new Jubilee count, the 4th one, because the 5th one ended, the 3rd one ended here, along with, so you had 3 Jubilees ending, the 4th Jubilee starts. So I'm just letting you know that there's a synchronization.
Yeah. So every 196 years, you have 7 28-year cycles have passed, and also within that time frame, 3 Jubilees have passed, and you're now entering into the 4th Jubilee.
Exactly, Brother Javed.
Yes, I get it.
Okay. So now, as well, you're going to see on here, again, arrows are always been pointing. If you can't see the Jubilee, I'm going to have it being pointed. We just read this, the number of days, 10,227. We just read all of that. Now, as we go through, one thing I like about, the revision here is that, at the bottom of every page, the last number is always going to give you an update of where you are. So that's going to be year 336 from the beginning, equivalent to year 3864 BC. And at the bottom of every year, you're going to get that understanding, just so you can keep track as you're moving through, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So again, we see here when we get into pink, Enos is born, year 35. Now, also what you're going to see here is if we go to our page, on every page is 12 28-year cycles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this number right here in the bottom is going to let you know that this is 12 28-year cycles at the bottom of the page. If you go to the next one, obviously it should be 24 12, right? 24 28-year cycles. You get what I'm saying? Next page should be like what? 36. So again, on every page, you're getting a complete update of where you are. Now let's move through a little bit more on page 2, and we'll go to it. Forwarding. We got some dates, right? Now we got something in blue. Let's look at that blue. Anytime something in blue comes up, it's letting you know that somebody has passed away. So Adam dies. That's going to be year 930. How do we know? Well, there's the number 900 right there. Because remember, we're counting in 100 years, right? 930. That's going to be equivalent to 3270 BC, because we know how to count it. He was 930 years old. Again, if we're just going to go through here, now we have, so again, look at after 900, it's going to move down to 1000. So that's the first 1000 years. The first day ends. 1000 years is 3200 BC. And right here, it ends. And then, of course, it's showing you this number 8, which is 8 years after 1000. So you know it's the year 1008. Right? So again, I'm just kind of giving you an understanding of how accurate things are. Doesn't matter, when we're going through all of these. Like I say, it'll go from 100. Then the next number you're going to see is, our big number is going to be 200. Then we go to 300, and that's all going to be counted up until to 1000, as you've seen once you get to 1000. Once we get to 1000, we reset again, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We get to 100, 101. Making sense, Brother Javin?
Oh, this is important. This is like a tutorial for the brethren and sisters, because once you get this book, you're gonna have to know how to read it. And this is what we're showing you, how to read it. Once you get these numbers, because it could be overwhelming. Look at all these numbers. You can get easily confused. Now, when you have Brother Shaw and myself showing you how to read these numbers, it's going to make sense, and you just need to follow along.
That's right. So again, this goes all the way up to, let's even go to our time period where we are. Okay, this goes again 1000, 7000 years. I'll even get to this area here where I'm at. We even have on this chart, I put a whole bunch of things. We have Jacob's 4th official trouble, because Jacob has 7 troubles. It's not one trouble. We have when the Portuguese slave trade began. You got Jacob's 5th trouble. You got when the Spanish slavery began for the Israelites, when the Geneva Bible came out, when the Gregorian calendar came into play. We even have when the Julian calendar came into play, when the King James Bible came out, when American slavery started, when they came over to the slavery. The year 6000 is equivalent to 1800 AD. And, during the 1800 times, a lot of slavery was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we move through to where we are now, all right, we're coming down here, going through here. As we get down to, this is our era around here. So this is, when it says ARPANET network, that's the first time that they tested the internet. I just put down some facts for people to know, because I think it's going to be valuable for the future. When the internet went public, 1993, that's equivalent to 6193 right here.
Okay.
Then we have the year 60,200, which is the year 2000 AD. The year 2000 AD right here. This is the 21st century begins. So this is 2001, 6201. We get to 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2016. We got to go back up top now. We're at 2017, 18, 19, 2020. That's when the COVID pandemic came on the scene. 5G towers were installed, right? 2020, right? 6220. See the arrow? Yeah. And then the last Jubilee that we had was last year, the 127th Jubilee started at that time. And that was the year 2024. And right now, we're in the year right here, 2025. I didn't mark it down because this is going to be going into the future. And then we go into the future, and we go all the way until we get eventually to year 7000, and we end all these cycles. So yes, consider it like a little bit of a tutorial, an understanding of Jah's Almanac, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, man. Great updates, and
yes,
I look forward to it coming out.
Yeah, man. But the John Dan Shabbat Shalom, yes, got to go in that kind of. Yes, so I would say, Brother Jabba, you're saying, I was wondering, are the 12 stones of the 12 tribes attributed to the 12 months of the year? Well, I mean, I know people try to say, this stone is like, let's say the sapphire, does that go for the first month? I don't know about applying them to the year, but there are 12. So the 12 stones, the 12 tribes, the 12 apostles, the 12 months, they all can overlap. Now, if somebody wants to say, I don't want to get into stones because people have a superstition out here. Sorry, people have a superstition out here, for
Yeah,
birthstones. You understand?
true.
And it's linked up with the Aquarius and all of that kind of stuff, and the Sagittarius and the zodiac system. So I don't want
Astrology.
somebody kind of looking into the things and then saying, "Boy, the second stone is ruby. I was born in the second month, so my stone is ruby, and I'm gonna buy a ruby or something." You know what I mean? You don't want to do those kind of stuff. So I like the question you're asking. So yes, but again, with everything, we got to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
So again, let's looking at this 364, 27 days, 371. That's plus 7 days here, plus 7 days here, plus 7, plus 14. We'll get to that after. Let's do the math now for Jah's 28-year almendrical cycle, calendrical cycle. We make up the word almendrical because we can. The year type, common year, minor Sabbath year, major Sabbath year. We know that there's 364 days or 52 weeks in the common year. There's 24 common years. How do we know there's 24 common years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 4 is 24. There's 4 sabbatical years. So we have 24 times 364 gives us 8,736. The minor sabbatical year has 53 weeks, 1 week extra for that Sabbath. 3 times 371, 1,113. The major Sabbath year has 2 extra weeks or 14 days, giving you 378 days. 1 times 378, it gives you 378.
Okay.
Add these all up. What do you get?
10,227 days.
Exactly. You see, this is, in a sense, this is perfect, in an understanding. Now, what I got up next is a calendar quote. Now, you may heard people out there, they talk about the Essene calendar, the Jubilee calendar, and the Enoch calendar, and they do utilize 364 days, and some of the Jubilee calendar utilizes Jubilee years, and there's some errors, like I said, but nonetheless, I like that people are moving and getting towards and getting acquainted to understanding, the number 7 and as it relates. But there's this calendar expert guy named Pratt, and I don't even know if he's still alive, but this is what he had to say about now it's going to sound strange. This is what he has to say about our 28-year cycle that we're talking about. I had seen this quote maybe about 10 years after knowing Jah's almanac and studying it and everything like that. And then I heard that people spoke about the Essene calendar that had 364 days in it, but people were saying that it would be off. So it's kind of unique how Jah's almanac has the same thing. So I think there was something back then people kind of had it close, but I would never call it Jubilee calendar and never call it Enoch calendar, nor those functions, because the calendar has to belong to the Most High. It's either Jah's calendar, his almanac, or it's the Israelite almanac, or it's a Messiah calendar of the true festival and dates. But anyways, brother, take a read of here of this quote. Very unique quote.
Yeah, very interesting. So calendar expert John Pratt wrote that the Enoch calendar has been criticized as hopelessly primitive because with only 364 days, it would get out of sync with the season so quickly that in only 25 years, the season would arrive an entire month early. So Pratt pointed out that by adding an extra week at the end of every 7th year or at the end of every sabbatical year, and then adding 2 extra weeks to every 4th sabbatical year or every 28 years, the calendar could be as accurate as the Julian calendar.
Wow. It's a heavy quote, man. Because it's
a heavy quote. That's exactly what we do.
That's exactly what we do. And we never copied him. But I know people who have a mind of calendars, they know these things. And the only reason why he could say something like that, is that he has to know about the 10,227 days.
Of course, you would have to.
Right? You can't say it'd be what does he say, as accurate as the Julian calendar. You know, the Julian calendar copies just things. It's letting you know. Now you can see where they get this from and how that this, you know, what we're talking about here is very profound. I don't know Pratt at all. And look at, he's even talking about the Enoch calendar, and I shoot that thing down. I shoot down the Enoch calendar and the Zadok priestly Jubilee calendar because it's not perfectly like how Jah's Almanac is. But
That's
I
right.
also, as I say, shooting down, at the same time, I give respect to it because at least people are coming from the lunar calendar out from that foolishness and are moving in a more direction of the truth. And with quotes like this, it's like I can, if I knew Mr. Pratt, you can show him our calendar and an almanac, and he'd be like, perfect. He'd be like, that's exactly what I was thinking myself. Right?
Yeah. He recognized that having a 364-day calendar continually would make the seasons go out of whack. And this is
That's
why
right.
Jah has allotted his sabbatical years every 7th year, that there would be an extra 7 days added every 7 years. And then on the 28th year, you would add an extra 14 days. And now all the numbers and seasons would still be intact and everything would be completely perfect. And the seasons would move perpetually without any disruption to the seasons whatsoever.
Nothing. Every single thing would be perfect. The Passover would always be in its proper place. February. Remember, we don't deal with the equinox stuff, but that's okay. But it won't move. Andrea says, yeah, they know about the 10,027 days. They have to know. Of course they know. I know that they know. It's not even that they all the stuff I've shown you. We've seen little computers and little small short videos. They know these things. You understand? And again, this guy Pratt here, you know, it's heavy stuff.
It's a great reference and quote to find, for real.
Because that's exactly how Jah's Almanac works, and that's why I know that these people out there, they know it, and so them knowing it means that they're hiding it, they're suppressing it, or they don't have the perfect formulation of it. But now we do. And we give thanks and praise to Jah, our Father, and His Son, Jehoshua, the Messiah, who gives us this understanding that we may keep the festivals and the appointments at the right time, and we may encourage others as well to keep their proper Israelite appointments at the true times. Because if you do it any other time, it's off. And people will say, well, at least they're close. And I get that. I do say we're moving that way, but it's almost like saying, well, people keep a Sunday as a Sabbath. You're like, oh, at least it's close. It's only one day. But that Sunday Sabbath is false. So
that's right.
Things can be close, and you'll hear me kind of, I kind of tinker when I shoot down a calendar. I'll shoot down the Enoch calendar greatly, but I'll say, I like the fact that they use 364 days, but everything else about it is wrong, and it's the same thing. I'll see that. So, don't take it too personal if I say it's completely off. But I like the fact that people are moving closer. But now you got to move towards it. The truth. And it's Jah's Almanac. Nobody can take this almanac and calendar and try to call it the new Israelite calendar or anything of that nature, because it's not. It's Jah's Almanac.
That's right.
With this symbol that you see with us all the time, I started to make it helpful for people to understand what's going on. Of course, we utilize the number 7, representing the 7-day weekly cycle. You will see outside of the 7 is another. Every star on here is 7 points, by the way. We don't deal with 6-pointed stars. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 surrounding that. Then you'll even see surrounding that, we have the 12-month year. 1, 2, and there's our first season. All right, this is the beginning of the first season, spring. 1, 2, 3, the beginning of summer. 4, 5, 6, the beginning of autumn. 7, 8, 9, the beginning of winter. 10, 11, 12. 12 months, 12 gems, 12 apostles, 12 tribes. And then on the outside, you can see that there's 28, right? 28 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th one is going to be a sabbatical year. So we have the small stars from 1 to 6, and every 7th year is a sabbatical year. So this goes here, it goes to 14, goes to 21, and then we go to 28 for the perfection. So again, when we look at this, I want you to take a look here. We got the minor sabbatical year of 371 days, the minor Sabbath year of 371 days, the minor Sabbath of 371 days, and then the 28th year is going to be the major Sabbath year of 378 days. Right?
That's right. This is an amazing thing that you're showing the brothers and sisters, because if you were to consider this as a watch or a clock, you are looking at a perpetual calendar in front of your face.
Yeah, you're looking at it kind of like right there when you know what's going on, because otherwise we don't put the stars on. But all these days, every single day, give us 10,227 days. We also can count the 7 feasts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I say 7 feasts, 7 holy convocations should be the proper word. So again, we have our 12 months, we have our 4 seasons, and on this on this week, I call it the almanac emblem, if you want to call it that, or almanac crest. It's perfect. It's beautiful, and David Ray originated it, back then by drawing it, and now we kind of, brought it up to a part in a little bit more details in this computer age. But these things are all hand drawn on paper. All the almanac from 1 to 7,000. I myself had to write that 27 the 7,000 year weekly cycle thing, the one that it has, it's grouped into 28 years and Jubilee years and everything. I wrote that all the way to 7,000, and so many times I made mistakes. I wanted to stop, but that was my first, I guess it was test or thing I had to pass when I bumped. Even though David is my uncle, I didn't know he was dealing with, these deep truths. But once he knew I had a part of the faith, and I liked the Sabbath. That was one of his things he said. He says, all right, if you want to do this, then go do that. Right from 1 times 7,000 in 7 columns, do it properly, and come bring it back to me when it's proper. And, I would try to do it, and I'd bring up half because I couldn't believe how long it took. And it was so tedious. And I was like, I wanted to quit so many times, but there was something that said, this is important for me to do. And even though I'd bring it to him and he'd say, oh, that number's wrong, that number's wrong, eventually I did it. And I think like that training and counting and looking at numbers so detailed has helped me so much. I'm just telling you, I know these things are not easy to understand.
Yeah.
And a lot of the work, we're trying to make it as easy as we can, but at the same time, show you how we arrive at these understandings, because to go and try to search out how to get to them, you might not even know, to be honest.
And, I can see this was very tedious work.
Very tedious, man. So, I just want to let you know, even these Gentiles, the Gentile Jews know about this 28-year cycle. And I want you to take notice of something here. Where are we now? We are in media. Let's do this one. All right. Listen to what this guy's talking about. Like I said, I want to premise this. This is called the Shemitah, means 28-year cycle. This one guy here is going to talk about it. It's when he's going to say when the sun, moon, and stars kind of go back to the same spot that they were at creation, but letting you know that there's a 28-year cycle. And this is what I want to let you know. It's not made up. It's things that are out there, but when you're not exposed to it and not a lot of information, it's rare information. Okay? Here we go.
One of the rarest and most unique events in the whole of the Jewish life cycle is an event that happens only once every 28 years. And that is an event called Birkat HaChama, the blessing of the sun. We don't actually bless the sun. We praise God who created the sun as a manifest part of the whole universe. That big hydrogen bomb in the sky, which we can't actually see at the moment, is part of a creation that God made in order to sustain human life and thereby bring about the revelation of his name and the oneness of the divine in the world. Every 28 years, the Jewish people commemorate this aspect of creation at the vernal equinox. That is that time in the spring where the days and the nights are of equal length. That is the moment, the vernal equinox, that we are told that the sun was created on the 4th day of creation, right above basically the spot I'm standing now. In fact, it was created at the beginning of the 4th day, which is Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. Therefore, on the Wednesday morning of every vernal equinox every 28 years, which means that we have gone a full cycle back to Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, so that the sun sits in exactly the same place where it stood at the moment of creation. The Jewish people praise God for creation, and specifically via the sun. Every month, the Jewish people are sanctifying the moon as part of the recurring cycle of creation, but the Jewish people have a synthesis in their calendar between the solar and the lunar. Every 28 years, at some point before 9 o'clock in the morning, the whole of the Jewish world comes together with their hearts directed towards this place and towards Hashem, and thank him for creation at the moment in which the sun is in the same place as it was in creation.
Wow. You see,
Wow.
this information is very important. Now, we don't deal with that equinox stuff, right? And that's no surprise to me, because they're always taking just things and trying to corrupt it. But you probably never even heard that these guys do that stuff, right? But
No.
let me let you know, they know what's going on. They know about the 10,227 days. Even says how they all know. And believe it or not, our adversaries probably know more about, you know, these true things than we ourselves, because they're the ones hiding it and utilizing it in their culture. Look how they're utilizing Jah's 28-year cycle for their worship of the sun and the moon. You understand? Even though it's going to say we don't, but they are commemorating that. So I want to let you know that, you know, that little video there, there's a lot, you know, going on in this world. And we're almost done here too, you know, and this is great, because this is why I call it 5A. I wanted to go slow because, you know, 5B is going to be, it's going to get into the Christmas talk, and I knew it was going to carry over to the solstice. So anyways, let's continue. We got a few more minutes. Let's continue. So I want to kind of highlight this area here. Just things are 7 times 4, right? 7 sabbatical years, 7 years, and then there's 4 sabbatical years. But when the Gentiles do their things, they're going 4 times 7. Is it still 28? Yes.
Yep.
Is it still 28? Yes. But look at it. So we have 7 years, 4 sabbatical years. They have 7 leap years. That's important. Now let's look at how it goes. Again, this is going here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like up top. And then the Gregorian calendar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. Look at that family. Yo, you gotta say, yo, trust me, and this thing give me goosebumps sometimes, because I'm telling you, you're seeing something great right now.
Playing with numbers. It's the same numbers, right? 28, same 10,227 days, but look at how they manipulate their numbers. 4 leap years times 7, and Jah has 4 sabbatical years.
That's right. And they both equal 10,227 days. But you see, Jah is based upon his principles and his sabbatical years and his 28-year cycle. But the Gentiles, they know what's going on. And this is why I try to say the Gregorian and Julian calendars that these guys using, they know what they're talking about. You understand? Even though they're beginning in January, I don't care when they start and what they want to do with the seasons. But I'm just telling you, the mathematical formation and what this does, you have to remember, that means the seasons will never, ever go out of whack, ever. So when they try to tell you, 500, 600 years from now, the Gregorian calendar is going to be off because it's going off. No, we're not flying in outer space. It ain't a big bang spread it out. These numbers are already been crunched before creation. So there's no, if we keep going on, the equinox is going to end up somewhere else. No way. It's in its spot. It'll come off and it'll go back again. The 28-year cycle brings everything. Even if it looks like it's not on, it comes back always perfectly.
That's
Praise
right.
John Joshua.
Praise Jah. These Greeks and Romans stole this knowledge from the Israelites. Because remember, when the times of the Gentiles turned over and changed, it was the Greeks and Romans that took Jah's books, and they had access to all this knowledge now. And if there was any imperfections to what calendars they were using at the time, they certainly perfected it once they seen what the Israelites were doing and the calendar that they followed.
That's right. That's right. Sorry, brother. All right. So this is the year 6077 from creation, or 1877, where the arrow's pointing. I'm just bringing you the 20th century era, where we are now. 1901 is right here. The J is the Jubilee year. Remember, the Jubilee is always on the first weekly cycle, right? You're counting 28-year cycles. And again, that same 196 years, David, that you were talking about before too, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is going into the 8th, but this is right here where it ends. Again, there's the Jubilee beginning at 73. This would be the next Jubilee. But again, this is just giving you an area where we are. So you see where we are right there. This is 6225, 2025. We are in the 223rd 28-year cycle.
28-year cycle.
Right? When you start to look at the Jubilees and stuff like that, and I didn't put it on here yet, but it'll let you know we are in the, I think it's the 128, no wait, 223, 120 something Jubilee cycle. I know I showed it on the last chart. This is the 9th 700-year cycle ends, the 225th 28-year cycle ends, the 97-year cycle ends, all at this thing. So this is an accumulation, the year 6230, I guess it is, or 6300 or 21 AD, which is, that's in the future, what, that's 75 years into the future. All these cycles will come to an end. All right, so, we talked a lot about these cycles. I just want to take your time and look at this. This is the present 7,000-year cycle. Let's start from up top. Then we got our 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 years. Then we got our 700-year cycle. So this is from year 1 to 700, which is year 1 to 700 years. That's what it is right there. It's equivalent to 4199 BC to 3500 BC. That's what this is. When we go to year 2, or not year 2, the second set of 700-year cycles, that's 701 to 1400. And that's equivalent to 3499, because look at this is 350, 3499 to 2800. Going through. So when we go through, where are we? We are around in this area here. Actually, we should be 63. Yeah, we're in this area here. We're in the 9th 700-year cycle. But also, if you look down below, so this chart is very, very compact. If you want to screenshot it, please do so. Or when you kind of order the stuff, you'll get it. 10 70-year cycles. So 10, 20, 30, 40, you have your 70 cycle, you have your Jubilee, your 28-year cycles. So 25, 20-year cycles right here, 50, 75, 100, all the way up to 250. So everything you see in here is a perfect understanding of the 1,000-year cycle, the 7,000-year cycle, the 700-year cycle, the 70-year cycle, and the 28-year cycle. I didn't put the Jubilee on this chart because the Jubilee chart, that cycle is very unique and it's hard to map out evenly with everything else, even though at the end the numbers crunch. But otherwise, 4199 BC all the way to 2800 AD. That's 7,000 years. So this chart, again, knowing time frames is a very good chart. It's beautiful. I always think jazz charts are beautiful. And I know I made them, not trying to tap myself, but it's jazz numbers that make them good, right?
That's right.
So let's look at this. I want to show you something because we're almost done here. The mysterious 35 days of allocation in the 28-year cycle. And you might be wondering, what am I talking about? Go ahead, brother. Read this.
Why do calendars repeat every 28 years? Since leap years come in a 4-year cycle, you need to find a cycle that is a multiple of 4 years that shifts the day by a multiple of 7 days. You can then observe that in 28 years, you have 7 leap years and shift the days by 35 days, which is a multiple of 7. You therefore get a repeat after 28 years.
All right, so let's talk about what does this mean by these 35 days? What's going on here? And now let me explain it for you. It's good to get an explanation of these things because you try to figure out what does he talk about? Where does this 35 days come in? Go ahead and read that, brother.
So 52 weeks is equivalent to 364 days. And any extra days that are added come to 35 days extra. Notice the brackets identify the extra days added to the 364 days. Both calendars utilize this 35 days.
All right. So let me talk what I'm talking about. The 52 weeks is the standard. Now, we can see here that 371 is 7 days extra. You understand? Right?
Yes.
Than 364. So that's 7 days plus that's 7 days plus that's, and we know it's 2 weeks after, that's giving us 7 plus 7 plus 14 is what? 35 days. Now, when we go to the Gregorian calendar, it's the same thing. Remember, the 364 days is our standard. So when they have a 365-day year, that's 1 year extra, right?
Yes.
From 364. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I see it.
So when you have this 1 year, this 1 year, this 1 year, you add all of these up, there's 21 ones, 21 things. And then 366 is 2 days more than 364, correct? Right?
Yep.
But it's 1 day more than 365. But look at this. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus
21.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Boom, there's your 35 days again.
5.
So this 35 days also, 7 times 5 is 35. And this is what they're saying back here is that, this 35 days is shuffled around and used. They have to move it around. And then when you're dealing with just things, it's the 35 days is applied to the Sabbath years. And for them, the 35 days is applied to their extra Gregorian year and their extra leap years. Again, this 35 days, they know they have to work this out. You see what I'm saying?
That's right. They have to use the same numbers no matter what.
No matter what.
They are locked into God's ordained numbers of this within his 28-year cycle.
That's right. Brother John Dunn says, hallelujah.
Yes, praise God.
Brother. Praise the Most High. They know and pay more homage to the sun and moon. That's right, brother. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let me show you something very unique, the Shemitah, before we finish off. We're practically done. I don't even think we're going to go, we might go 2 minutes over. But here's one thing you have to see, this 20-year cycle thing.
And a return to the land and so on. So the World Trade Center, the towers, they were planned in 1945, a year of Shemitah, and they were completed in 1973, again a year of Shemitah, a Shemitah year. They were destroyed in 2001. And would you be surprised to know that it was also a Shemitah year? Coincidence? I don't think so. So Jonathan Cahn discovered then, as he dug a little deeper, he discovered that there is this cycle in American culture of things that keep happening in cycles of 28 years. Cycles of 28 years. 28 years. Now, I'm really bad in my math, but even I can think, okay, 28 years, that's half of that is 14, and a quarter of that is 7, so that's 4 sevens. Wow, I'm really impressed with myself. That's 4 sevens. That is 4 cycles of Shemitah years. 4. So what Jonathan Cahn was saying is that the Lord seems to be working in America in these cycles of 4 Shemitah, 4 cycles of Shemitah, and then 4 more, and then 4 more, and then 4 more. And so he points out to 1917.
All right. So this is important for you to see here, not on the screen, to listen to. So he was saying things are happening in America in like 28 years cycles, and the Shemitah is the 7 with the 14. So the Twin Towers built in 1945, what he said. I might get the number wrong, but 28.
45.
It was planned in 1945. They started building it. It was finished 28 years later. And then 28 years later, it was destroyed in what, 2001? Is that when the
2001,
9/11?
yeah.
Right? And so 2029 is the next 28 years. So I mean, you just heard from me. He said, I think America's working at this 28 year. Is it a coincidence? I think not. I know that they know what's going on. You know they know what's going on. And not even that.
Yep.
I mean, you see who knows what's going on. Those guys know how to run things, and this is not by accident at all. You
Not
understand?
at all.
So again, just compare and see that the Gentiles have, reverse the multiples to formulate their false 20-year cycle. These 10,227 days keeps all of God's seasons and cycles in alignment on the earth perfectly and harmoniously. So again, God's 4 groups of 7, Sabbath year every 7th year. We count out the numbers, we do the math. We do the Gentiles. Instead of God's 4 groups of 7, the Gentiles have 7 groups of 4. They have leap years every 4th year instead of sabbatical years. They're doing their math, and then you do all the math out here. 10,227 days. Oh wow! Look at the comparison.
Wow.
That's why when you see me kind of go on the way when people try to talk about calendars, I know they don't know what they're talking about, and I don't punk anybody off, but like I just know that when people don't know these things here and they want to talk to me about the new moon and the lunar Sabbath and all things like them stuff, that to me is a little bit. I understand that. I'm not trying to say, but this stuff is the bigger stuff that if you don't know these things.
Yeah,
then,
it's primitive compared to Jah's numbers.
I want to just say primitive, but I didn't want to use the word.
It is. It is.
Yeah, man. It's, you can't say nothing about this. Honestly. Right? So we've gotten to the end of this. And as always, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Jah, our Father, and his son Jehoshua the Messiah, also known as Yahshua, Yeshua, Yahusha, Yahweh, Shia, Jesus the Messiah, HaMashiach, the Christ, who died for our sins and who's a Nazarite, by the way. If you don't know that the Messiah is a Nazarite, you better learn that as well, because, it's a Nazarite is who died for your sins. And that's important to know that he's a Nazarite. And if you don't think so and don't think it matters, then as everything, nothing matters. He's white, doesn't matter. If he's from here, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what his real name is. It's like when it comes to the Messiah, nothing matters. Everything is like, well, it doesn't matter as long as we love him. And I mean,
that's careless way of thinking.
Yeah, it's careless way. I mean, I don't think he's holding people exactly to things that they don't know. But when you know things, you just move into things that you know and you deal with the truth. And the Messiah said himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So, it matters, what he looks like. I don't mean like how his facial features were, but what race he's from. Because if it didn't matter, these guys wouldn't give you a Gentile European Jesus, nor would they palm off that the people of the book are them. And you know who they are. So so when people try to say, oh, I don't care, and usually it's black people that say this to me, it doesn't matter what color is it, this and that, and I don't know why, because they know they're bowing down to the white Jesus, but it's like, you don't seem to care, but it's like, these guys care, these guys know. If they didn't care and didn't know, they wouldn't have formulated that type of people from the book, what they've done with the goats and the Gentiles, and they wouldn't have given you a goat Gentile, Messiah, Christ, or whatever, so I'm careful with names too, but I also watch the doctrine. So don't anybody tell you it doesn't matter and nothing matters. Oh, if this and that, I don't care, this and that, this and that. Well, if it's in Jah's book, it matters. If it's in the book of Joshua and Jubilee and Enoch, then get that out of here. Have to squeeze that in there. Jubilee's not as corrupted though. I'll tell you that it's not as corrupted, but still corruption is there, man. It's all over. So that's it. I hope you got some understanding. Next week, we're going to be exposing this equinox era, and we're going to deal with the Christmas thing. The Christmas thing is really, really deep. I don't think anybody's kind of broke it down the way we're going to break it down. And I'm not just talking about mistletoes and Christmas trees and all those stuff that are fake and everything else. I'm talking about, these guys are using that thing. They know calendars. It's a part of a calendar thing. It's great. There's a great deception in it, and I really look forward to sharing it with you. Just spare our lives till next Sabbath. Praise Jah.
Praise Jah.
Thank you, Brother Javid, again joining in today. May Jah continually bless us all, and thank you, family. Hail up, Auntie Elma, Mama Greg, Greg, Janessa, Carice, Andrea, John Dunn, Johnny, Zariah, Fire, Sky, Monroe Datas, Janessa, I got somebody named Cece. I think that's about it right here now that I can see in the room. But anyways, bless up and thank you. Hope you got some information.
Bless up, Johnny.
Yes, bless up. God bless to you, Brother John Dunn.
Yeah, man, bless up.
Bless up. Yeah, man, bless up. Yeah, all right. All right. So thank you, everyone. And as we tune out, whoa, my face is so big. I don't even like to see myself so big. Get back down there. Have a blessed week, everyone. Stay strong. Jah will tune in Wednesday night. And again, even for Brother John, I'll try to make the lesson a little bit shorter. But if you haven't checked out last week's lesson about who wrote the book of Hebrews, you should go see it. Still, I think it's a good. I don't know. I think it's a good lesson still on a topic that might not be a salvation issue, some might say, but it definitely teaches us how we're supposed to read Jah's word and have faith in His word. So I hope you get some understanding.
No doubt.
Praise John, his son. Yes. Have a great week. Yeah, Mom.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Bless up to you, Brother Sean. All the brethren and sisters, have a good week. Jah willing, we meet again on Jah's holy Sabbath day.
Yeah,
One love.
don't forget. Yeah, man. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up in there and share it if you can. And do all those things. If you want to make, not in the chat, but if you want to leave a comment, you can go leave a comment. These little things, the algorithm tells me, hey, make sure you answer comments because it's going to help your algorithm that other people will see it. And all I want is people to see these videos, these lessons, because I do think that they have great value in them. And we need to, as Brother John Dunn said, this is like college stuff. This is university. And it's not that boasting and bragging. It's just I know that it's more detailed information, and you need to really have your head on your shoulders and the Spirit of the Most High to see these things.
This is high-level scripture study.
All right, brother.
Okay. Bless up, everyone, again. Have a good week. One love.
One love to you. Any comments or questions, put them in. Bless up, Zariah. Oh, yeah. Finish at a good spot too, boy. I'm really happy about that. All right. One love to all. Bless up. Shalom. I'm out.